Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the last few books that I read in August. I can't believe it's going to be September, like tomorrow. That is insane. September already. It just scares the crap out of me. So basically I'm going to probably do the books that I disliked the most first and then talk about the books that I did really enjoy, because I find it a lot easier to talk about the books that I dislike than the books that I enjoy. So the first book that I read and really finished, because I only read half of it, I read the rest, I think it was at the start of the year, is the Ironrich by Karen Mahoney. I'm doing a giveaway for the second book if you guys aren't aware already. So this one was one of those books that I had to pick up a lot throughout the rest of the throughout the time it took me to read it. I put it down, I picked it up, some parts were enjoyable and it made me continue reading, other parts of it made me put it down and never want to read it again. So it sat on my shelf with this post-it note in it for like ages, and I'd pick it up and I'd be like, ugh, don't want to finish this book. But because I had already read so much of it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to spend the next week or so just ploughing through it, get it done, add it to my challenge, say I've read it, and then that's it. And I ended up enjoying some parts of it. The parts that I did enjoy were the concepts of the story. I think that Karen had great ideas that had lots of promise, but the execution was done kind of poorly in my perspective. A lot of the time I felt like I was reading books that I had already read before. There were some parts in the book that were interesting and different takes on things that I'd seen before, different takes on things that I hadn't seen before. But for the majority of the book, it felt like I'd already read this book 7,000 times before. I'm not a fan of Fae either, so that probably was one of the big things that kind of was a downer for me. I don't really enjoy reading a lot of Fae books. There are some out there that I do, but this was definitely not one of them. The characters were very dull and kind of cookie cutter. There were scenes in the book where I felt like I was getting to know the characters a little bit better, but that would go downhill when they kind of just went back to being their cliche selves, and that for me was a bit unsettling. I wanted to like this book because of the concept. I haven't really read many books about alchemy. I like the thought that, like, the design of the character herself, Donna, I can't even remember her character name now, that she does have that arm like that. And I do like the idea that there are wood elves and things like that, because when I grew up reading Eden Blyton, where there was a lot of those kind of spirits and brownies and those kind of creatures, and I fell in love with that. But I wanted to fall in love with those characters in the book, and I didn't. So this one, really, I gave it a 3-star because I thought that maybe I would like to read the second book. There were parts of it, especially in her journal, that were interesting. The ending was quite fascinating, but not like, oh my god, I have to read the next book. So I gave it a 3-star thinking maybe the next book might have promise, but I'm not going to read the next book because there's too many books out there that I would like to read and I don't want to waste my time. So that one got a 3, but I really would have given it a 2.5. The next book that... oh, I had to show you guys a picture. That's the cover. So yeah. The next book that I didn't really enjoy very much was Anya Barth's Otherkin, Fury, which is an Otherkin novel. I think there's 2 of them out. I have the other one on my Kindle. They were free. So the basic premise of this one is that there is a character named Nikki, and she is a cougar, and her family is mostly wolves, and so she feels out of place, and she gets chosen to stand alongside, I think it's Merrick, who will decide to stand alongside these 2 brothers who are going to be king of everyone else. And she doesn't want to because she doesn't feel like it's her place, because she is a cougar and everyone else is a werewolf, and that they have the right to kill her if they don't like her, or if they don't think that she'll be good enough as queen. And fair enough, because I thought that was a really great concept, and I was looking forward to reading it. I was also looking forward to reading about the erotic elements in it, because I do enjoy a good erotic paranormal fiction, or supernatural fiction. However, the first scene, really, in the book, which is supposed to be the defining scene where you get to know the characters as they are, both personally and as together, was a rape scene. To me, there is no doubt in my mind that that was rape. So, if someone is saying no, do not touch me, go away, I don't want it, and you're drilling into them, and then they run off, you can't expect them not to think that it's rape. So basically this happened, I think, 2 to 3 times again, before the actual main male character said, "Oh, I'm actually scaring you. You actually don't want it." Despite her saying, "No, I don't want you. I can't take it. I don't want this," he still thought, "Well, you will want it, and I will make you want it." So, yeah, that kind of ruined it. That ruined the whole story for me, which was it was a downer, because I enjoyed the actual underlying story, the subplot, where the paranormal aspect of it, but when it came to a romance and erotic side, no. Distasteful for me, anyway. And I will put my hand up and admit that I love kinky shit when it comes to books like that, but this was not kinky, this was not enjoyable, and I do not like reading about rape. So, this book got a 2 stars. I think I would have given it 1, but 2. And I probably will read the next book, even though I don't like the characters, because the ending of the book and the paranormal aspect of the book was interesting. But I'd probably pick this book up on a day where I'm just like, nah, don't feel like reading anything other than just to read something quickly. So, not one of my favourite books. That's the cover. I'm looking at my list, sorry guys. And then the other book that I didn't really like was a memoir, and it's an adult book. It is an adult fiction book. It is called Mother and Daughter, and this book was a memoir based around incest. Now that is a very touchy subject, and I don't read it a lot, but I think I was browsing Amazon for memoirs about abuse and things like that, and this one came up. And I thought, okay, I have not been affected, like being abused or anything like that, but one of my parents was, and they were a byproduct of incest. So, too much information, but that's why I read it, because I'm trying to understand what that means for me, what that means as a person, and what it means for my family as well. So I thought that maybe this would be an interesting book about that, and it wasn't. It was painful to read, it was deeply disturbing, it was sickening. The main female character, the mother, who at the end of the book, I'm not going to really, you probably won't want to read this anyway, but at the end of the book, she is very close to committing incest, and I didn't really enjoy that at all. I wanted to know what could drive a person to do that, like what goes on in their brains, but to read how she got to that point, it just creeped me out. It made me so sick. It was just, no. But at the same time, it was really interesting to hear about these people in the world who seem to think that it's okay, like it's part of a normal relationship. And I, for one, believe that love is love and you can't fight it, but there is a difference also between love and abuse, and I think that line was crossed many times in this book, and I just feel sorry. I really do. I feel sorry for Denise Bryant, who's the author, but I also felt good at the end because she didn't do it. She didn't take that step. She almost did, and then she's like, no, this lifestyle that I have, these people that are trying to convince me this is a person I should be, no. And she got help. So I guess that was good, and I'm human, that doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make me an evil person for wanting to read these kind of books. I just like to try and understand who humans are and how they act and how they think, and I think that, you know, sometimes we read these books, but this is one I definitely wouldn't recommend if you are interested in reading something about this topic. Okay, moving on from mother and daughter. Then I read Mr. Shakespeare's Bastard by Richard B. Bright. I always say Bright. This was a 5-star rating book. I am not one for historical, but this one made me want to read every historical book that I could find under the sun. It made me want to read Shakespeare. It made me want to watch anything to do with Shakespeare. It's based around a character whose mother has a child who is Shakespeare's child. Now this book takes place over a period of time and is in the perspectives of her mother, Arlene, who's the main character, Arlene's mother. And for the first half of the book, that's her story, her telling how she met Shakespeare and how Arlene was born and her life back then. And then the second half of the book is Arlene's story, told from the perspective of her as an adult and as the story of her as a child and as she grew to be a young woman and how she met her father. Also, like, Arlene tells her story about her mother to another character, Charlotte, who is a child that she looked after until she was older, and she's kind of living in a house at the moment. I know it's confusing, but it's definitely not when you read it. This book was beautiful. The prose, the descriptions, the atmosphere, the settings, the historical kind of aspect of it, I loved it. I loved every minute of this book. I wanted to savour it so badly that I would put it down for days on end, not wanting to pick it up because I didn't want it to end. And every time I read it, I was just taken back to my childhood. So the kind of books that I just love to read, the books that you could get lost in, the time period, the characters, everything, the way that they acted, ate. I just love knowing about that kind of time period, and I'm not going to say what era it is because I always get it wrong, but it was fascinating, and I already have done a review on this book, so if you guys want to check it out, check that out. And was by Richard B. Wright. And then I read Die For Me by Amy Plum, and I think I already did like a mini review for this book, but I loved it. I loved everything about this book. I'm so excited to read Until I Die. I have it on my bedside table. I'm kind of trying to decide whether I want to read it now or savour it until I can get the next book. It's really hard, but I love Kate. I love Vincent. I love her sister. I love everything about this book. I love the setting of Paris, the atmosphere, the cafes. I do admit that some parts of this, like people have mentioned before, that it was a little bit Twilighty. Don't let that turn you off. There are some very, very minor aspects that people could compare to Twilight, but it is nothing like Twilight in my eyes. It's much better than that. And I enjoy Twilight too. And it is about remnants, zombies. So I think this is probably my first zombie book. And I really love the romance aspect of it. It wasn't like oversaturated, and I'll say the same thing about the next book that I read. It was believable, and I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with their romance, and it was just, I loved it. It was one of those books that I read and read and read and read. Every page I'd be like, yep, okay, I'm gonna go sleep now. Oh yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning. I should probably be in bed by now, but no. I just love this book, and I know it's hard to explain how much I love it, but I do, and I have a better review on my blog for it, where I actually can articulate what I feel like saying. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Die For Me, please do, because it is wonderful. I loved it, and it's so beautiful too. And lastly, and I just finished just this morning, and I was crying. I'm such a sook. But it is Ebony by Brodie Ashton. When I picked up this book and started reading it, the first probably 40 pages. I was so scared I was not going to like this book. It was just not grabbing my attention enough. I'm very funny when it comes to myths and legends and things like that. If I've heard about it before, it makes it harder for me to actually enjoy the book, but I haven't really heard much about Hades and Persephone. Hades and Persephone? I think that's what it's about, right? I just read it and I should know. But either way, when I started it, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Falling Under by Gwen Hayes. But then I started reading it more, and I got into it. And just like Die For Me, I fell in love with these characters. I think Nikki is one of those characters that you can have a love-hate relationship with. I can understand how tortured she is and how demented she must feel inside. The decision that she made in the book, I can't lie, I would probably make the same decision if I was feeling that way. And the consequences, I'm not sure I would deal with the same way. I'd probably go completely insane if I knew I only had 6 months on Earth to say goodbye to the people that I loved. But the way in which Brodie Ashton wrote this book was just phenomenal. I didn't give it a 5 stars because it was such a slow start for me. But if I could give it a 5 stars, I would. I really would. But the starting was... I love Jack, and I also love Cole. I'm not going to pick sides because even though there is a love triangle in this book, I don't think it was like a love triangle, like, you know, like the gross, overused triangles that are in fiction nowadays. I actually believe that each guy had a reason to care about her, a reason to feel the way that they did and act the way that they did. And I think Nikki had the exact same right to feel the way that she did about either of the male characters as well. I love this mystery aspect of the novel throughout the whole novel. And it's going to be kind of sad, but I didn't see it coming. I didn't see the ending coming at all. I was just like, what? And I cried. I was like, oh. And when I finished the book, I thought, Blair, you should have seen this coming. Why didn't you see it coming? But I didn't, because I was just so absorbed in the book that I didn't care. I just wanted to find out what happened at the end, and I can't believe I have to wait. Like, I think it's coming out in January, but I can't believe I have to wait that long to get the next book. Sorry. And the ending was, woo! Want to read it now? Want to read it again? Would I read it again? Probably, yes, I will. But, love the cover too. Love the aspect of the tunnels as well. And, yeah, so I'm so glad I read this book. I don't really know how much else to say about it. I'm thinking about doing a separate review, but I just wrote a review on Goodreads and on my blog, so please check that out. Again, I can articulate myself a lot better with my written words than I can with my mouth. But if you haven't picked up Ebony, definitely do. It is a debut novel for 2012, and it was a burly pants. That's right, a burly pants. Okay, so here we are at the end of 20-minute video. Sorry guys. Where I'm going to say that probably my favourite book for the month is Die For Me by Amy Plum, because that was like awesome. Yeah, I'm very articulate, aren't I? I'm perfect at it. So let us just recap the books that I have right here. So the two favourites of the month would be Ebony and Die For Me by Brodie Ashton and Amy Plum. Very, very closely followed by, well, Ebony would be closely followed by, rather, Mr. Shakespeare's Bastard. And then we have Mother and Daughter, Fury, and the Ironrich, which can go in the bin. Pretty much. Not the books, just the papers, because I didn't really like these books, but I love the covers too. So I think in total I read 8 books this month, which is thumbs up Blair, because you haven't read 8 books in a long time. And yeah, so if you've read any of those books, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you would like any reviews for those books, let me know. I already have done one for Die For Me and Mr. Shakespeare's Bastard, so really only the one I would like to do would be Ebony, but I can let that one slide. Yeah, So thank you guys for watching my wrap up video, and I can't wait to see you guys in September. And sorry about the last video where I was like a parrot at the end, but I haven't heard from Craig for a while, so how are you doing, buddy? Also, thank you guys to my new subscribers. Thumbs up. Love you guys.